YouTube, Biker Mike back out in the Biker Mike shop working on the 2021 Can Am Outlander 850 XT. Today I'm going to be changing the front and rear differential fluids. I've got about 1,500 miles on this ATV now, so I figured it was definitely due to change them out. It'll be interesting to see how it looks. The front differential calls for 75W90 synthetic GL5, so I'm going to use a royal purple. And yeah, I'll just show you down here first where the fill plug is. The fill plug's right up there on the right side of the front differential. You can see I already got an Allen socket on it, ready to go. And then down here underneath, I'm going to try and do this without removing the skid plate. I'll show you down here. Right up underneath here, there's a hole. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that or not, but there's another Allen bolt up there for the drain bolt. There's not much space here, but what I did was just, I got up there with some compressed air and kind of blew as much dirt out as I could. And then hopefully I'll be able to drain out that gear oil into a drain pan. So let's see how it goes here. Okay, so I'm using a 5mm Allen socket. And wow, that wasn't even really that tight. So I'm just gonna back it all the way out and let it drain into the pan here. It actually looks really good. There's hardly any steel on that, if that is a magnetic one. Actually, I don't think it is magnetic. So yeah, it's not a magnetic one, but there is a O-ring on it, so you want to make sure you inspect that. And I'll just let that drain until it stops draining. So while that's draining down below, I'm just going to remove the fill plug. And it looks like there's a copper crush washer on that, so be careful with that you don't drop it. So there, hopefully you can see if it's focused. That's the fill plug with the copper crush washer on there. And it still looks to be in really good shape, so I'm going to reuse these. So I used a 6mm Allen socket for the fill plug and a 5mm Allen socket for the drain plug, and everything's all nice and cleaned up, ready to go back in. I'm just still waiting for all the gear oil to drain out of it. So yeah, there's how the front differential oil looks after 1,500 miles of break-in. There is a tiny little bit of metal fleck in that oil, but definitely nothing bad, and it all looks good. So the manual says it takes 500 milliliters, but that's not what came out of it. 400 milliliters came out of it. So I've already got the gear oil pump hooked into my bottle of gear oil. If you need one of these pumps, I'll leave a link down in the description of where you can get one on Amazon. They work really good and makes things nice and easy when you're changing gear oil. I'm just going to fill that until it starts
to ooze out the fill hole there. And I'm just pumping this pump just like a soap dispenser. If you've seen my video on changing the transmission oil, you've already seen this used, and maybe you've seen them before, but if you haven't seen them, it makes it real easy to do gearbox oil changes.
So yeah, it looks like it took right around the 400 to 500 milliliters of oil. So you can see it just dripping out of there a little bit. So I'm going to put the plug back in, and you just want to snug it up nice and snug, not too tight. Same with the drain plug underneath. Just make sure your copper crush washer is still in decent shape before you thread it back on there. And if you need a new O-ring for the drain plug, make sure you get that too. But these are still in excellent condition, so I'm just going to reuse mine. And that's it. The front differential's done. So I'm all set up to do the rear differential now, and it's basically the exact same procedure. It takes 75 W140 though, and it takes a lot less. I think it's around 250 milliliters. That's what I read, but I'll let you know here in a minute. And then the exact same Allen sockets, exact same sizes for the corresponding plugs, drain and fill plugs. The only difference is once I get them cracked loose, because they are on an angle, so I don't want to back them all the way out with these sockets. I'm going to switch over to these two ball head Allen wrenches, so they can kind of like pivot as you're taking the Allen bolt out, so I don't end up getting anything cross-threaded. So that's just how I'm going to do it. The other thing is, I'm not sure where this oil's going to drain. I really had to get in there with some compressed air and blow out all the dirt that was down in there from my last ride. Go figure. The muddiest ride I've ever been on, and then I'm going to change the gearbox oils. Great. And it was sandy mud on top of that. But anyways, I'm sure that's all the situation for everybody, so you just got to make sure everything's as clean as you can get it, and we'll just see where this drains out at. So there you go. It is just going to drain out the bottom of the rear skid plate there. It's a little bit of a mess, but I'll just let it drain for a long time. And I'm going to get this fill plug removed right up there. Now there is a copper crush washer on the fill plug, but it looks like there's no type of seal on the drain plug. So just in case you're wondering about that. But I'm going to get these all cleaned up. And once again, just make sure that's all cleaned up nice and perfect, and your copper crush washer is still in good shape. This has never been done before on my ATV, so I'm going to reuse the copper crush washer again. And that drain plug should just screw right back in and tighten up and self-seal itself. And it looks like it's done draining, and you can see there is quite a bit more metal fleck in the rear differential than there was in the front, which makes sense because I'm mostly running this thing in two-wheel drive. So yeah, that's 1,500 miles, and that's how much metal shavings, or not shavings, but just a little bit of metal fleck in there. So that's why it's important to do this. And like I always say, preventative maintenance is always the way to go to protect your investment. So I'm going to get the drain plug back in there and get the pump all set up and pump in some Royal Purple 75W140. So there you go, everything's all set up to refill it. I've got the hose here hooked up to my pump, and you can see right above the fill hole 250 milliliters 75 W140. Hopefully you can see that. Maybe the light's too bright. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there you go. So here we go, just gonna pump this full until a little bit of the oil just starts to come out the top or the bottom of the fill hole there. And just to make a note, this is the same oil that the transmission takes, 75 W140. And as long as you're using a fully synthetic 75 W140 that meets the GL5 standard. And it's just starting to come out the fill hole there, so that's gonna be good. Once again, make sure that copper crush washer is on there. Carefully reinstall it. Don't get anything cross-threaded. That's why I'm just using a regular standard Allen wrench. My socket one didn't really fit into it straight on, but it will be fine to make the final torque on it. And you just want it snug. Definitely don't over torque it. If you want to be real picky, you can look up the torque spec somewhere. But I've got a pretty good feel for doing this type of thing, so you just want it snug. And that's it. Another maintenance job done to the Can Am Outlander 850 XT. Hopefully you guys like that video. If you like the video, be sure to subscribe. I've got lots of other videos on this Outlander, and I'll be making more in the future. And once again, if you need one of these pumps, you can get them on Amazon. They're really cheap, and you can even get all the oil on there too. So I'll leave a link down in the description for that. And once again, thanks guys. Biker Mike out.